nonfiction finalists Lauren Redniss for Radioactive, Marie and Pierre Curie, A Tale of Love and Fallout, published by It Books, an imprint of HarperCollinsPublishers.
Hi. My book, Radioactive, combines artwork, writing, and design. It tells the story of the scientists Marie and Pierre Curie, and it flashes forward in time to consider the repercussions of their work. Because it is the interplay between the text and the art that tells the full story, I fear that this reading would make no sense unless I take a moment now to show you a few images that explain the format and the artwork. The first thing I did when I created this book was to make a typeface. I made the images using a 19th century process called cyanotype printing. Cyanotype printing is a technique in which chemically saturated paper turns a deep shade of blue when it's exposed to the ultraviolet rays of the sun. I thought it made sense to use a medium based on exposure in a book about radioactivity. Also, cyanotype images have a kind of photonegative effect, white lines on a dark background. I felt this captured what Marie Curie called radium's spontaneous luminosity, the way radioactive elements can glow in the dark. So let me quickly show you what I mean by stepping you through the making of one image in this book. This double-page spread depicts Marie Curie in Stockholm in 1911. She's dining with Swedish King Gustav V following the acceptance of her second Nobel Prize. This is the initial drawing of that banquet scene. So I turn that drawing into a photographic negative. That negative gets placed onto the chemically coated paper and exposed to bright sunlight, which turns the paper blue. Often I add additional colors by hand, and finally I add the text. So this again is the image as it appears in the book. The excerpt I'm going to read comes about a third of the way through Radioactive. Like many passages in the book, it shifts back and forth in time to link the Curie's story with more recent events. It's 1906. Marie and Pierre Curie have been married for 11 years. They've discovered 2 new elements, radium and polonium. They've won the Nobel Prize. They have 2 daughters, Irene and Eve, and they live in Paris. Their health is beginning to show the effects of radiation exposure. It's spring, and the family has gone to the countryside. The passage begins with a few lines from Marie Curie's diary in which she's directly addressing Pierre. We collected flowering chestnut branches and gathered a huge bouquet of water buttercups that you loved so. We slept nuzzled against each other, as always. The next day, you were weary. The weather was divine. Irene chased butterflies with a mean little net. She ran in her blue knit trousers, arms and neck naked, to the house. I sat against you and lay across your body. I had a little clenching in my heart, holding you there, but I felt happy. I had the feeling that I had frequently felt during this recent time, that nothing troubled us. The following day, Pierre returned to Paris for a meeting at the Hôtel des Sociétés Savantes de Sciences. It was raining that Thursday when he left after lunch, preoccupied from work and limping from chronic pain. As he crossed the busy intersection of the Rue Dauphine near the Seine, in the gloom and the snarl of traffic, the physicist was struck by a horse and driver crossing the Pont Neuf. His daughter Eve later described the moment, quote, "His body passed between the feet of the horses without even being touched, and then between the 2 front wheels of the wagon. A miracle was possible. But the enormous mass, dragged on by its weight of 6 tons, continued for several yards more. The left back wheel encountered a feeble obstacle, which it crushed in passing. A forehead, a human head. The cranium was shattered, and a red, viscous matter trickled in all directions in the mud. The brain of Pierre Curie." Pierre's original schedule would have kept him at a second meeting 2 streets away. However, a strike had shuttered that building and diverted his route. The rain made for poor visibility and slippery roads. The carriage was carrying some 13,000 pounds of military gear, making it difficult to stop suddenly or reverse course. For a disaster created by multiple unanticipated failures in a system, a collection of small, simultaneous mishaps that lead to one massive catastrophe, sociologist Charles Perrow coined the phrase normal accident. Quote, We start with a plant, airplane, ship, biology laboratory, or other setting with a lot of components. Then we need 2 or more failures among components that interact in some unexpected way. Each of the failures, design, equipment, operators, procedures, or environment, is trivial by itself. The failures become serious when they interact. Such, Pierre contends, was the case on March 28, 1979, when one of the 2 reactors at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, descended into partial meltdown. An orchestra of leaky valves, inadvertently concealed indicators, overflowing water tanks, contradictory emergency signals, and operator confusion created a disaster that began and was compounded in a matter of seconds, yet took days to unfold, understand, and stop. Mary Osborne, a local resident, can see the 3 Mile Island plant from her bedroom window. Some days she can smell chocolate from the Hershey plant 14 miles away. Some days the aroma of yeasty bread from nearby Capitol Bakers floats her way. On that Wednesday morning in 1979, she remembers, the air filled instead with a sharp, metallic taste. Since the accident, Mary Osborne has collected mutant plant specimens from the area, which she photographs, dries, and preserves. Her collection includes this pink rose. It has 2 complete sets of leaves and petals, but no reproductive parts. It is sterile. Marie returned home to learn her husband was dead. The flowers he had picked in the country were fresh on the table. His recovered gray watch still ticked away the time. Thank you.